All right, welcome back to Up the Dogs. That was something. That was a game of football. That was just so many mixed feelings out of that one. Hold on, I feel like my chair's normally more that way. It doesn't matter. Just so many mixed feelings because it's just so disappointing to lose that game. It's just such a winnable game. But like at the same time, we just lost by 2 to the 4-time reigning champions, and they scored 1 try, and it was the flukiest try ever. Like, there is a lot of positives to be taken out of that game, but at the same time, we should have won that game. There's so many things that we could have done better, whether that's coaching decisions or execution or just taking the 2. That's just one that got away, and to lose 8-6, it was heartbreaking. It felt like a semi-final. The intensity of the game was just semi-final like. Isaiah Yeo said post-game, I saw in the NRL app that it was semi-final like. And as a fan, like, it was semi-final like. And I nearly cried when it was over because it was just like so intense and so nerve-wracking. And, you know, some of those moments in the final minutes, just the heart was racing, and it just sucks to lose, man. Obviously it sucks to lose, but to lose in that fashion in a game where they just should have won. They should have won. But then at the same time, you're so proud of them when you look at this game and we've just lost to the 4-time reigning premiers by 2 points. Imagine telling someone, a Bulldogs fan, 3 years ago that we do that. I don't know. It's just like they've come so far, but they have so much further to go in terms of, I feel like Penrith were playing closer to their ceiling today than the Bulldogs were playing to their ceiling. I feel like some of our execution and just decision-making really let us down. And I feel like compared to Penrith, where they weren't perfect, but I do feel like they were closer to their best than we were. And it was just such a winnable game. And I'm really excited to verse them in a couple more weeks, in a few weeks, where we can beat them, bro. We can beat the Panthers. And obviously you can look at the Panthers this year and be like, well, yeah, no duh, Winston, they're a bottom 8 team. They've been terrible. But the way they played today was top 4 footy, top 8 footy. That was the Panthers we've come to know. So yeah, it just sucks. I've got, like, obviously there's a few things to talk about. I feel like there were 3 reasons we lost that game. There was the decision-making, there was the execution, and there was the bounce of the ball. And there were some multiple key moments in those 3 topics that I want to just sort of dissect and talk through. So that's how I'm going to structure this podcast. Let's talk first. What will we talk? We'll talk about bounce of the ball first, because that'll be the quickest and it's the most simple. It is a rugby league expression where it's, you know, like, oh, we just didn't get the bounce of the ball. And that's a different thing to not getting 50-50 calls. I think a lot of people sometimes confuse 50-50 calls with bounce of the ball. 50-50 calls is refereeing. Bounce of the ball is luck. But in the Bulldogs case today, it was quite literally the bounce of the ball kept going against us. Literally the bounce of the ball. For example, the main one, obviously, is the Nathan Cleary try where he charges it down and gets a perfect bounce and runs away and scores the match-winning try. That is literally a bounce of the ball going against the Bulldogs. And there's nothing you can do about it. I'm not trying to sit here being like, oh, you know, the bounce of the ball is against. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it was like there were so many unlucky moments where the bounce of the ball went against us. And that was a big one where Cleary got the perfect bounce. If that bounced away from him or whatever, he doesn't score that try. But the bounce of the ball just went against us. And another one is, and I think there was a few here, but another big one was down that right edge where Critter, I think, kicked it, and then Montoya kicked it again, and it like stayed in, but then it bounced dead. If it had just sat up for Critter, like, he could have scored. And there was another one as well, but I forget what the other one was, but I think it was a similar one to that potentially with Critter kicking it. But there were just so many times where it was a literal, you know what the other one was? Bailey Hayward's 40-20 attempt, where he just out of nowhere just launched a 40-20, had the angle and everything, but the ball just sort of sat up instead of keep on rolling. And if it just had kept rolling and bouncing, that's a huge 40-20, a huge play. And we go on and, you know, have an attacking set. And it was just so many bounces of the ball that went against us. And even like the Panthers penalty goal they took where it hit the post, you could argue, you know, that was sort of in our favor. And hindsight helps, but even in the moment, I said to my cousin who was sitting next to me, I kind of wish they kicked that. I feel like teams that go from 2 to 4, I don't agree with that logic. I feel like they should try and keep the pressure on. And if he kicks that, we then go down to halfway and we can attempt a short kickoff. And if we got the ball off the short kickoff, like we have an attacking set. So, yeah, it's just some of the bounces of the ball, like literal bounces of the ball went against us. And it just sucks, but there's nothing you can do about that. It is what it is. But I just thought it was worth mentioning, just like some of the unluckiness. And then the other two things I said I was going to talk about was the decision-making and the execution. Now, I don't really have any main examples that I'm going to like sit down and break down, and I'm probably the last guy you're going to come to just hear breakdown play because I've never played NRL. But also, just for complete context, I've just got home from the footy, and it is after midnight it's Friday morning now. It's literally 12:11. The Parramatta Leagues Club car park, a nightmare to get out of, but that's a story for another time. But in terms of the execution, there was just, and this is going to tie into the decision making, so there's going to be a good segue here. But I feel like there were so many times where mainly Critter's edge, but also Kikau and Sherry's edge as well, where so many passes were thrown to the winger and it would go behind the winger, or it would go in front of the winger, or the winger would drop it, and it would just keep going over the sideline. There's so many times, and it just keeps replaying in my head of Critter throwing it to Montoya and it just going over the sideline. And it was just poor execution, poor passes, and I also think I actually blame what I'm about to say more than the poor execution for the most part is the combinations, which were completely messed up. And we're going to get to that in the decision making. But goodness me, why were the wingers swapped? We'll come back to that. But yeah, I think overall we just didn't execute as well as we needed to, clearly, because we lost by 2 points. But at the same time, I feel like the execution, we have seen us execute better, and I feel like that's definitely something that usually is better. And if we play Panthers again in a month, if that's better, they're very, very beatable. So that's a positive. It's not like I'm trying to sit here being like, hey, the execution was bad and I'm expecting it to get to a level we haven't seen it at. I think the execution today was below par for the standard we've set ourselves. Not just in general of like, oh, we should have executed better. Just like compared to the level that we've played at stages this year, we have executed better than we did today. So if we can get back to, executing a bit better, I think things will improve. And that it comes down, especially, as I just said, to some of the combinations. And that is a mix of, to be honest, in the middle, I didn't have any problems with execution as much. But like changing the halves mid-game comes, that's going to have an effect on combinations and execution. But the other main one, which I'm so confused by, and this is segueing into the decision-making that let us down, and I'm going to go chronological order of 3 decisions that I think really let us down, because we're going to end this podcast with the biggest take the 2 rant of all time. Hey, no, I'm going to save it, but take the 2. Take the 2. Take the 2. We're going to come back to that, but take the 2. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, just take the 2. And I'm going to come back to that because I'm not going to sit here and just forget about everything else. The wingers. Let's start with the wingers because they ran out switched. So for those that aren't observant, and I'm sure everyone picked up on this, but just in case, Kiraz plays right wing, Montoya plays left wing. It's been like that all season. Now, Kiraz has had a little bit of time on the left wing. Last year, he spent a couple of weeks on the left wing, in fairness. I'm pretty sure he did. And yeah, because like when we beat the Eels, Blake Wilson was the right winger. And then Marcelo Montoya in his career has played right wing. He debuted for the Bulldogs on the right wing. But when Kiraz has played his entire season next to Stephen Crichton on the right, and Marcelo Montoya has played his entire season on the left next to Bronson Xerri, and Bronson Xerri is the left centre, and Stephen Crichton's the right centre, why are we switching the wingers? Legitimately, why? I'm trying to the whole drive home, I was trying to work out why did we switch the wingers, and I have a couple of theories. Some are dumber than others. But the combinations down those edges really let us down. The amount of times where Stephen Crichton threw a pass that he was probably throwing it to where Kiraz normally would be, but Kiraz wasn't there, Montoya was. And I'm honestly not blaming Montoya for that. I think on the surface, you go, Montoya, why didn't you catch that? I think it comes down to the combination. And I just feel like if it was Karaz on the right wing, especially in the last few minutes, if Karaz was on the right wing, we win that game. And that's not me trying to say that it's because Karaz is better than Montoya. I think Karaz is better than Montoya, but that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say the combination of Critter and Karaz, if they were there, they would have won the game because they know each other in and out because they've played all season next to each other. And I'm just like, why did they switch that combination? Why did they switch the wingers? Here are my 3 theories. Theory number 1, was it something to do with Brian To'o being the Panthers' right winger? Did they want Karaz on To'o for some reason? I can't think why. Like, I understand To'o's a gun and stuff, but I just don't think it warrants switching wingers. Like, just, if you don't think Montoya is good enough to stop Brian To'o, pick Blake Wilson or pick Jethro, Rinakama. Sorry if I've pronounced your name wrong. I don't know. And then that sort of takes me to my second theory, which is, was it a defensive thing? And was it either, defensively stopping To'o, or have they gone during the bye week, hey, Montoya's defense is a bit iffy? Because realistically, Montoya's defense can be a little bit iffy at times. Do they want Montoya next to Stephen Crichton? Is that what it was? And I feel like this is the most likely thing. And also, for reference, for full context, I've not watched the press conference, and it is probably very likely that Cameron Strider was asked about this in the press conference and answered it. I haven't watched the press conference because I literally walked in my door at home, sat down, and started recording. But I'm assuming it's a defensive thing where in the bye week, they've looked at what needs to improve for the rest of the season. Montoya's defense can improve, so let's put him next to Stephen Crichton. He's played right wing before in his career, so it's not going to be like brand new to him. Karaz can handle himself on the left, and we will sacrifice the combinations for a couple of weeks. They'll build those combinations, and in a month's time, the attack's going to be sweet. The combinations are going to be sweet. But defensively, Montoya's going to be better with Critter next to him. And if that is the case, you can look at tonight. We conceded 1 try to the 4-time reigning premiers, and the try wasn't from them attacking. It was a charge down. So we technically conceded no tries to the Penrith Panthers. We conceded no tries down the wings. So if that is the case, you could argue it worked. So fair enough. But offensively with the combinations, it was just so frustrating in a game that was right there. Sorry. And even if it was changed for defensive purposes, surely at the very least, you switch them back while we're attacking in the dying minutes of the game. In the final set of the game, just put Karaz back on the right, man. Because I really do think if he was on the right, we would have won. And then also my third theory, and this is really dumb, and I really hope this isn't the case, but it's kind of cool, is maybe they put Montoya on the right side because it was his 150th game, and when he debuted for the Bulldogs, he was on the right, and they wanted to be sentimental and let him play on the right wing to sort of mark the milestone. Surely that's not the case, but I'm just throwing it out there. I know that I should cut out the coughing, but it is after midnight, and I'm not going to be editing that out, and I'm very sorry. Decision number 2. 30 minutes left in the game. Reid Marnie gets subbed off. Lachlan Gavin comes on at halfback, and Toby Sexton goes to hooker. Now, this isn't unfamiliar. We've seen this before when Lachlan Gavin debuted. This is the movements that happened where Reid came off and Sexton went to hooker. The difference is first of all, the one difference is the entire context of the game. The second difference is there was 15 minutes left, 20 minutes left. There was 30 entire minutes left in this game. And I really thought Reid Marnie was playing really well today. I thought he was passing well. His defense was really good. He'd been making some, good tackles and stuff. And I'm just like, Reid didn't warrant being benched. If I had to bench either him or Sexton, I don't think Sexton was having a bad game by any means. But I feel like Reid was playing better. He, didn't seem like puffed or anything. I don't understand why Reid Marnie was taken off with 30 minutes left. Fair enough, with 15 to go, 10 to go, and he's gassed, or if the score was different, we're up by 4, we're up 6-2 with 30 minutes left. We had, at that time, in my opinion, we had a lot of momentum, and we were 100% on top, easily. You can't deny that. We were on top in that moment. And then to put your halfback to hooker and take your hooker off, and then put a 19-year-old in the halves who doesn't know the defensive system as well as everyone else, and that's not a knock on Lockie Gavin. I don't expect you to know the defensive system, but I'm just calling an apple an apple. You probably don't know the defensive system that well yet. Why, when you're up by 4 against the 4-time reigning premiers who you know are a very good football side, you go and make that change? And then as soon as the change happened, Penrith just started hammering poor Lockie Gavin, and he missed a couple of tackles. They went all the way down the field off a couple of line breaks, pinned us down our end, and then Nathan Cleary charges down a Matt Burnham kick inside his own 20 and scores. And I'm not blaming Lachlan Gavin for that, but the missed tackles did lead to the line breaks that led to the field position that led to the charge down. And Lachlan Gavin didn't put himself on with 30 minutes to go. And I'm just like, I don't expect him to know the defensive systems. I don't think everyone should be attacking Lockie Gavin because it's only his third game. This isn't about Lockie Gavin. But this is about the coach's decision-making to put him on in that position, in the context of the game at that moment. I just don't agree with it. I feel like we would have been better off leaving the hooker, who was playing quite well, at hooker, let him make his tackles. If anything, in that moment, I wouldn't have taken Toby Sexton off either. I would have just left everything. And then maybe with 15, 20 minutes left, I don't know, that's when you find a way to put Gavin on. Especially we lost Daniel Saluka Fafita so early in the piece. This is going to sound bizarre, but Kurtman has played front row for us before. He has rotated into front row with Hayward staying at lock before. Why wouldn't you just go Kurtman, rotate into the front row, play as a small-bodied, fast feet, footwork prop? You're not taking crazy hit-ups or anything, but he's just the usual role he plays in the middle. Not necessarily prop, but just the Kurtman role in the middle. Move him into that rotation and then use Lockie Gavin as Kurtman where he can come on at lock. And if you're so desperate to get Reid Marnie off the field, which I don't know why we were, because I thought he was playing quite well, why not rotate Bailey Hayward on in the 30th minute, put Bailey Hayward to hooker? Because he was on the bench at that stage. Put Bailey Hayward to hooker, who, he came on with about 15 minutes left and played lock. You could have put Bailey Hayward to hooker in the 30th minute and then had Lockie Gavin come on at lock with 15 to go. Or or put Lockie Gavin to hooker with 15 to halfback and move Sexton. But there was no need to move our halfback to hooker with 30 minutes left. There was no need to disrupt the halves pairing that were leading the 4-time reigning premiers 6-2. There was no need to move them around with 30 minutes to go. It was just unnecessary in my opinion. And I think it really did lead to costing us the game. And it was questionable. And now off the back of it, there's more questions. Lachlan Gavin has been at the club for nearly a month, including 2 buys, which is a lot of time at training to work things out. And since signing, there are more questions that we have around Lockie Gavin than answers we've been given. It's just, once again, I'm not trying to pile on Lockie Gavin at all. I don't think Lockie Gavin did anything wrong. He missed a couple of tackles. It is what it is. He's a halfback. He's going to miss tackles, especially as a 19-year-old. We didn't sign him for his defense. We didn't sign him to make tackles. So this isn't hating on Lockie Gavin at all. I'm just really questioning the decision-making and just what is the way forward? Because Toby Sexton doesn't warrant being dropped. In my opinion, Reid Marnie doesn't warrant being dropped. So, I just don't know what's going to give. You can't just have Lockie Gavin coming off the bench and playing 30 minutes at halfback with Toby Sexton going to hook. You can't just keep changing your halves mid-game. Realistically, halves just shouldn't change. Even when Gavin debuted, I was a bit I don't know if we should be changing the halves. And, yes, it worked out well at that stage. But, yeah, it was a weird decision to me. 30 minutes to go in a game, I don't think that was the right decision. And goodness me, I've ranted so far and it's I need to go to bed. But I haven't even got to the main part. My hot take of the day is if you are down by 2 points with 2 minutes left and you get a penalty inside the opponent's 30 or inside the opponent's 40, I do not care who you are. I do not care who is on your team. I do not care who is your goal kicker. If you are given a penalty inside the opponent's 30 or 40 meters with 2 minutes left and you are down by 2 points, take the 2. Take the 2. Do this. Ready, referee. Penalty. Look at the scoreboard. 2 minutes left. We're down by 2 points. We're within 40 meters of the goalpost. Take the 2, baby. 2 fingers up in the air. Back yourself. Where are our big moment players? You're telling me that Stephen Crichton, a guy that has gone to grand finals and origins and Samoa World Cup semi-finals and lives and breathes big moments, cannot take the two, get the ball, put it on a tee and have a crack at goal? You're telling me Stephen Crichton isn't backing himself to kick that goal? You're telling me Matt Burton, who has won multiple games by penalty goals, by field goals, including like back-to-back games last year. You're telling me Matt Burton, who missed back-to-back 2-point field goals in a semi-final last year, hasn't had enough sleepless nights where he wants to redeem himself, where he's a first-grade footballer who like should be a big game player and he doesn't want to get the ball and take the two. And in Matt Burton's defense, I'm going to go in to defend Matt Burton here. From what I saw, it looked like Matt Burton, he wanted to take the two and then Critter overcalled it. And in a post-game interview, Critter sort of said like, yeah, we probably should have taken it, but he felt like they were having a bit of joy spreading the ball around and moving Panthers around and he thought that was a better option. I'm sorry, but we didn't score a single try like down either Panthers' head, moving the Panthers around. The only try we scored was like off the back of a bunch of offloads and we like made a break down the middle from our own end. Like, that's like, I'm sorry, but I just don't agree with that explanation. You are Stephen Crichton. Believe in yourself. Back yourself. Get the ball, put it on the tee, put two fingers in the air and have a shot at goal. If you miss, the ball's going to go dead anyway and you're going to get the ball back. You would have just got the ball back anyway. It's a free shot at 2 points to tie the game in the dying minutes. You have to take the two. If you are down by 2 points, you have to take the two. I used to go to the Oval. Shout out to Portland, Kramer Park. I used to go down there all the time and just practice goal kicking. And you practice from the sideline over and over. And you visualize yourself down by 2 points, down by 1 point, or tie game. And you're kicking to tie the game or kicking to win the game. A goal kicker in the NRL, I promise you, has been to the park more than I did. And I went all the time because I had no friends and no life. I went all the time, and NRL players do that way more as kids all the way through to now when he's at Belmore Sports Ground practicing goal kicking. Him and Matt Burton, that's two different goal kickers in the same team that both could have had that shot. You're telling me that he doesn't dream of that moment as an NRL player? There's front row forwards dreaming of the moment to have a shot at goal to tie game from the sideline. And the point I'm trying to make about me at Kramer Park goal kicking, I couldn't goal kick to save my life. I don't think I ever kicked a goal from the sideline. I'm not even kidding. I'm a terrible goal kicker. I don't think I ever nailed a goal from the sideline. And this is going to sound like I am lying, but I am not kidding. I am not joking when I say this. If I was in that moment, I would have backed myself to have a crack and try and kick it because you should believe in yourself. And if you're in the NRL, just believe in yourself and just back yourself and take the two. And I'm not trying to attack Stephen Crichton. And I'm not trying to attack Matt Burton. But, like, I believe in you guys. I believe in you. I back you to kick that. And if you missed, it's okay because at least you backed yourself. I want guys in this footy team that back themselves. And my message for Critter and for Birdo is I believe in you guys. And I believe you would have kicked that goal. And I'm just like, just have a crack next time. Back yourself. The worst case scenario is it goes dead and you get the ball back anyway. And I'm just backing him, man. They would have kicked that. And it would have been a tie game and we would have been off to Golden Point and it really would have been the greatest game of the year. It was just like, if you're down by two, I'm going to cry of like needing to cough. I'm sorry. If you're down by two, take the two. Take the two, baby. Take the two. Take the two. Oh, just take the two. I remember once, and we're gonna get tangenty here at 12:30 at night. I remember once it was Storm Roosters. I remember it so vividly. The Roosters. It was a tie game. Roosters Storm. End of the game. Roosters get a penalty. Literally in the exact same spot, same sideline, same distance. The Roosters got a penalty. It was Kyle Flanagan's first year at the Roosters. He was a very young halfback. Lots of pressure on him. Roosters get a penalty. Kyle Flanagan doesn't even hesitate. Goes over, picks up the ball, calls for the tee, says, we're taking the two. Did not hesitate. He overcalled the captain. Was like, bro, I'm taking the two, baby. Because that's what kids dream of doing. And Kyle Flanagan nailed that goal. And I was like, just back yourself. Have a crack, man. I saw a comment where someone was like, if they took the 2 and missed, everyone would have been blowing up about why didn't they go for the try. I disagree. I feel like it's such common sense to take the 2 points that sure there would have been some people blowing up, especially like hindsight heroes. But I feel like for the most part, you just have to take the 2. Ugh. Cameron Serrato said in his press conference during this week that we've played Panthers twice in 2 seasons and we've learned lessons both times, and he hopes that we'll learn lessons again this time. And there was plenty of lessons learned tonight, whether that be, hey, take the 2 next time, maybe the rotation could have been better, maybe don't outthink the room with switching the wingers, and then just all little things like, when it comes down to execution. And I think we learned that we're at the very least on the same level, if not better than the Penrith Panthers, which is huge. And I know I've been a bit negative, especially with the whole take the 2 thing and the rotations and the decision-making. But at the end of the day, there's so many positives. It was such a good performance against such a quality opposition. It was such a good game. I imagine as any neutrals out there would have just absolutely enjoyed that so much. One of the games of the year. And we've come such a long way where we were used to be getting pounded by Penrith. You'd lose by 30 and you'd be like, that was a pretty good performance. We only lost by 30. Legitimately, I remember sitting on the hill at Penrith being like, we only lost by 30, let's go. And so to come so far where we lose by 2, and I'm just here like, why didn't we win that game? We've come a long way, and we could have played so much better, which means we have a long way to go that is realistically this season we can get to really high levels. And I think there's so many positives to take out of it. And I'm going to end the podcast on a very positive note. Connor Tracy, how about those 2 tackles he made in the first half on our line? That is defense that wins semi-finals. That is defense that wins grand finals. Connor Tracy, take a bow. Your try-saving tackles in the first half. I'm trying not to clap that because I don't want to wake up anyone, but that was good stuff. I had to change my pants watching that. That was elite defense. So Connor Tracy, just sensational online defense. Some of the hustle, just the intensity we played at. We're ready for finals, baby. After watching the Manly final last year and then that game today, I really do think that we're a side that's ready to play some finals footy. And yes, we did lose, but the good news is it wasn't a semi-final and we've still got 10 more games, around 10 games until it is finals. That's plenty of time to, fix what needs to be fixed. They'll know what needs to be fixed, and what needs to be fixed is very fixable because we've played at, better execution and stuff this season. So, yeah, there's so many pros and so many positives to take out of it. And you can be proud of that performance, but at the same time, let's hold the boys to a standard of hey, we should have won that game. And to sit here and to be able to realistically say, we really should have won that game is such a positive against such a quality opposition. And it was a very good game to watch. Even though we lost, it was a great game of football. And I think we're competing for a premiership this year. I really do. Even though we lost that game, I think that game shows we are competing for a premiership this year. And I think as Dogs fans, we need to get excited. So get your butts next Friday. Get to Accor Stadium. We're going to go and we're going to avenge ourselves against the Broncos who flogged us early this year. And we're going to go and we're going to be the Avengers and we're going to avenge that loss and we're going to beat the Broncos on Friday. And it is a huge day for the club because the NRLW girls are playing their first game ever on Friday at 5:40. So please get to Accor and support the girls as well as the boys. Get there early, leave work early, and get to Accor Stadium and get around the girls as they make their first ever game. That's really exciting. Against the Knights, who are a pretty good side in the NRLW, it'll be a cracking game. The Bulldogs on paper, the Bulldogs side, especially even in the trial against Eels, they're looking the goods. So that'll be a cracker. And then we get to play the Broncos back at home. Even if it's a Friday PM game, we still want a big crowd. So get to Accor Stadium. Use Winston and 25 to get 10% off tickets. Just get there, man. Get there. Get around the boys because it is an exciting season. And a day like today, where it's just a heartbreaking loss that feels like a semi-final, if we make it, we'll be in the finals. When we make it to the finals, if we come up against the Panthers and we beat them, we're going to look back at today, and this loss today is going to make that win in the finals feel so much better. Tough days make the good ones sweeter. So bottle up this loss. As much as it hurts, just bottle it up. Remember what this feels like, because when we win against the Panthers in the finals, it's going to feel so, so good. And I know we can beat the Panthers. So I'm going to sign off there. Up the dogs, baby. Up the Dogs. Take the 2. Take the 2.